Burgess and Bolton's weekly wrap-up.
Hello, Ben.
Hello, Jeremy. It's another happy nearly Friday.
It is a nearly Friday. Yeah, we're pre-recording this on the Thursday before it goes out live tomorrow at lunchtime. And welcome everybody to this week's edition of Burgess and Bolton, where we're looking at everything to do with the London market, technology change, innovation. This week we're going to focus on big news, breaking news, still breaking really, but around ethics, standards, Lloyd's, and individuals. I guess behaviour is the word. So let's jump straight into it, Ben. So it was the Wall Street Journal, I think, that broke a story today, or this week rather, with the AIG withdraw executive hire after inquiry into alleged inappropriate workplace relations. So this is John Neal, previous CEO of Lloyd's of London. I think off the back of this, Lloyd's are reopening a kind of investigation into conduct, but also a wider look at the state of things. It's just worth recapping kind of the last almost 12 months timeline to this story. So 8th of Jan this year, Lloyd's announces Neal will leave and join Aon, and then it was confirmed in January that he was going to take up a role as global CEO of reinsurance and global chairman of Climate Solutions. Then in July, Neal instead pivots to AIG as group president effective 1st of December, and then recently AIG confirms Neal will no longer join, citing personal circumstances. And then the story broke on the Wall Street Journal. And I think we, just reflecting back, I mean, we talked about John Neal kind of leaving kind of unexpectedly. It was a bit of a kind of car crash, that an initial sort of resignation, or we didn't really know what it was, did we? No. So we had the cartoon, where's Neil, where's Wally, kind of thing. But suddenly it's all got a bit more serious with these kind of alleged allegations.
Yes. And okay, so I'm going to step through quite carefully, but I think we've both had a conversation before coming on air where we're both pretty annoyed, aren't we? Feel pretty. There's sometimes you say disappointed, but I think we both feel a bit kind of pissed off about this. I can use that phrase.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you. So I'll come back to that, but I think the timeline is important, but also the things that we have picked up on this show, I think reasonably, which are, the previous chairman's comments in the FT about the fact that he had received almost no notice from John Neal when he decided to up sticks and leave and resign and go to Aon. And that story was, according to good sources, was leaked to the insiders. So that wasn't a great start to this. And Carnegie Brown is probably not the sort of person who typically is critical of people in public, I imagine. So no. that was kind of the rather odd start, which gave you some impression that there'd been some issues. And I'll say only this about my own personal experiences. Around about that time, lots of people, and I mean lots of people, spoke to me about issues that they were aware of in Lloyd's relating to this. So that's all I'm going to say. But those were market-wide conversations at various places that I was at, which I have to say were both fairly shocking and worrying, really. So that was something I was aware of, and I think you were aware of as well, and therefore many other people in the market are aware of. I don't know the extent of that. Maybe just we're very well connected, Jeremy, and meet the right people.
Maybe.
But our random network probably is relatively random. So we then obviously we were sort of, there was Aon and that was all happening, and then there was various articles in the press as well, the Times in particular, who were questioning why John Neal would stay at Lloyd's and not go on gardening leave when he was in a situation where he was going into Aon and had privileged information prior to going into that role. We questioned, what would Marsh think? What would other brokers be thinking? This is not right. He should have, in any circumstance, have gone on gardening leave.
Yes.
So I'll just put that out there. I don't think that's controversial. I don't think that's normal practice, right? And it would have been good practice, I think. And the Times wrote an article saying it is pretty outrageous that this is happening. What's going on with the governance at Lloyd's? So we're into the governance situation. So then the story gets even more strange, where we used our Where's Wally analogy but it wasn't totally ridiculous. As a dig, because he ditches Aon, according to what we hear, and decides, I'm going to go and work for AIG for what is rumoured, and it's in the articles here, I'm not saying this, for rumoured a $17 million salary per annum, Jeremy.
Half of what I get paid, but anyway,
Yeah, per annum. Okay. So that has been there and is an odd thing, a very odd thing, I think, and has had some press comment, of course. And now, as you say, it takes a darker turn. And to be honest, we're in these headlines, yes, the word alleged is there, but they're fairly explicit. There has been pretty serious, potentially, contraventions of governance and practices, within Lloyd's, from not just a senior executive, the chief exec, the person who leads Lloyd's, an organisation that is written into the law of the land, and we've seen articles recently, we've featured them on here, saying Lloyd's is the jewel in the crown or equivalent of the London market. And only last week there was a major meeting with Rachel Reeves of all the leaders of the London market, where she said, you're one of the organisations we want to see incoming growth from. So I think the implications of this are really, really serious, really serious. They're not just about Lloyd's governance. I think they're about how Britain looks. We've just had the BBC. So in 2 weeks, we've had the BBC trashed for good reason, largely. But in the US, it's lost all credibility. And now we have Lloyd's. And I'm afraid that while we know, you can be in the market and you can say anything you like, what it will be viewed outside this market will just be atrocious, I think. I think it will be dreadful at a wider level.
Yeah, and you can see this because I've just brought up the Daily Mail headline. So it's seeping outside of industry publications. This is big news. It's global news, and like you say, it has ramifications for the kind of the brand of Britain, the brand of Lloyd's. But I think also at a more micro level, we know a lot of people that are doing a lot of work and good work around issues. I look a lot around technology and change and operations. You do a lot in claims and service and culture, and all these things are moving forward. And I put events on where people can come together and try and work out these problems. But if you're trying to do that with headwinds like this, it just becomes really, really difficult. Just take one example. You're trying to recruit new people with skills that you need in order to deliver your business and operating models, and these are the types of headlines that they're seeing and going, I don't think I want to work in insurance. That's not a place for me. So
You're right. You're right, Jeremy, and you really well said. And I feel the same. I feel that, I was reflecting. I put a few comments on LinkedIn last night about how bad it was for the market, in my view, and I was quite happy to maybe shoot from the hip on that, because I was genuinely quite angry, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One is, the length of time this has taken, which implies why is the question. We've both asked this. Why have we've had all this rigmarole about going for jobs and things when this has been, in the shadows, as it were? And this is supposed to be an organization that, following the Bloomberg thing, was going to be transparent. So we haven't had transparency. We've had a reaction to an article, to an exclusive in a US newspaper. And that's what's happened. It hasn't been a front foot thing. It has very much, it has very great similarities, I think, to the BBC affair, which was something bad happened and nobody decided they needed to talk about it until it was discovered. And that was almost the worst sin. It's what they call it, the sins of omission. It's the things you don't do that are the worst things. And when was the last time Lloyd's was in the Daily Mail? Has it ever been in the Daily Mail? I mean, people have been, it makes me laugh. As a market, we've been trying to get it to be known more, and so that people are more aware and we get more talent and all that sort of thing. And yet, when we do get in the Daily Mail, it's for this. And you despair, don't you, really, of it when that happens?
You do.
You do. It's awful. So I was going to just say that we have come under quite a lot of at Grace Church, quite a lot of attacks over the years, really, from some quite senior people in the market, I would say, some of them very close or in Lloyd's, because of our rankings where we show leading brokers and leading underwriters, and particularly around the gender balance that we show, which is, we have no axe to grind, right? We collect the data in the best way we can, as representatively as we can, and thanks for all the people who help. But the gender balance has hardly shifted, and it is pretty much 80-20 in both broking and underwriting in London. And I'll give you a comparison. In Singapore, it's 50-50. We use the same methodology. It's 50-50. So there is an issue, and it's a de facto issue. It's not a sort of, we're kind of talking about marginal differences. Post Bloomberg, Lloyd's was supposed to have done things about the culture and the change and structural changes, and all sorts of things have come in from the regulator too. But actually, to me, if that number doesn't move, then you haven't really made great strides. I think what we're talking about is London, because when I work with big organizations, I do see quite a lot of diversity, but that's because they're international. I think the London bits of it are still very male dominated, and I don't think it'll escape people that this is a very classic male story, isn't it? Whichever way this turns out, or whichever way the judgment turns out, it is a kind of story that you get when there is male dominance in areas of the world or entities. So I feel that I will say that I don't think it has been taken seriously. And actually, it looks as if even the top person didn't take it all that seriously.
Yeah.
So has culture really mattered, is my question? No. Would be my guess.
Yeah. So we'll watch this story, because it will develop.
I'll just say one other thing as well, which is, I know we've ranged far and wide on this a little bit, but I'll just say one other thing is that there are several stories now in the international press, but around, and Lloyd's itself, around innovation and growth, and how important that is for the market, because it hasn't been growing and it's lost a lot of business to other markets, and it's in competition. Again, just ask the question, what does this do? I think it sets it back. I don't know how you measure that, but I bet it does. So it's, yeah, more than disappointing.
Yeah. There we are. So, as I said, we will we'll watch this, especially as the story evolves, see reactions as well. It'll be interesting, and yeah, I wonder at Data Jam next week whether people will be talking about it. It's actually a good time. There's a lot of people coming together who probably aren't in, who would not probably think they are directly affected by this. So it'd be quite interesting to take a temperature check and see what people think about it, whether it's registered with them. And
I mean, at the moment, I think it will be there will be some level of containment to this story because lawyers are involved. So if you look at articles at the moment, the FT, for example, it doesn't enable any comments underneath because of legal concerns, I guess. So I think there'll be some containment of that, which arguably could be a good thing for a while. But I think whatever way the judgment goes, I think it will be bad news, and it will be very public again. So this is drawn out, and that's the problem. Lloyd's is now in a very, very difficult position. I really don't envy the chairman as to what his next steps are going to be, because I think they're extremely narrow, probably, and also probably quite unpleasant, actually. So I think it's going to be more at the point at which the report or whatever comes back. It's like the ministerial issue where you have the kind of Angela Rayner type situation. There's a bit of a kind of false war before before it actually becomes this is the issue. But you look at how much press it's in. All of those journalists will now be waiting and following the story and digging around for their own angles. Whether they be lurid, governance, the future of Britain, it's just a field day for the journalism side of things. Absolute field day. So,
not exactly the best news to kick off our review. So let's move things on, Ben. So as I was just mentioning, we got the Data Jam next week. Last week we kind of previewed the pre-event survey. I've written up the results of that, and I put it in a link at the bottom of this show on LinkedIn. If you're listening, just find us on LinkedIn and you'll be able to see the article. But essentially, we kind of pick up on the 5 points that were made last year, kind of what people were really after. So looking at AI projects, scaling them, what they need to do, some of the structural poor foundations that need to be looked at, as well as kind of the 5th point there, the kind of cultural resistance and weak kind of business adoption. It's like kind of moving those things. So anyway, I've just expanded on some of those points, written an article, and as I say, I'll put it in the link to this show as well. There was another bit of news, Ben, just moving things on. So this week, I don't know if you saw, so this is an example about how quickly the AI world moves, because on Monday, I think it was, the Google boss kind of calls the peak of the market, the AI boom, the bubble. It's going to burst, everybody. It's going to burst. And then literally today, a few hours ago, share prices rise. These AI bubble concerns. The yin and the yang. But I think we were saying, don't worry, investors, if you're in NVIDIA, because I'm not. So the chances of that stock going down are pretty slim.
Yeah.
Don't believe that.
It's not an AO situation. I think it is interesting because the trouble is I don't know. You know, we're at the point now where you have to kind of really understand that predictions are pointless. Nobody can forecast anything. No. So we're at that kind of just sort of blather point, which is, yeah, it's going to be bad. But the head of Google says, yeah, it could be bad. It could be a bubble, but it won't be as bad as you think. Well, guess what? There's a certain sense of self-interest in that. In other words, we won't be decimated. But look at history, mate. And actually, lots of companies have been decimated. You have to look at the South Sea Island bubble, the dot-com bubble. You know, of course, you know, economies are, you know, are dotted with these crashes, and one of the commentators this morning was saying one of the big problems, guess what, is a kind of circularity that goes on between, say, an Nvidia and all of its partners. So Nvidia invests in its partners who buy its chips, who then, you know, invest further, and so the codependencies in all these markets, the same things happens in insurance, and they have to sort that out with reinsurance spirals. The codependencies, when there is that amount of money, which is off the scale in this market at the moment, are terrifying. You know, I don't know if you've ever seen, if we might put a link to it, but there's a fantastic video which was an explainer video of the crash in 2008. You know, the financial crash, and how the prime mortgage crisis worked through, and it shows exactly this, that it was all of the pass the parcel element of the market that caused the problem. So I think that's what people never know, because you can't see it and you don't know. But once the markets work on fear and greed, once the fear sets in, so you could argue the Nvidia story is a greed story. Look at that, it's all brilliant, we're all fine, we can make money today at least. You know, trebles all round, as the Private Eye cartoon used to say. And tomorrow, you know, we might be dead in the water. That's what trading is. And live by the sword, die by the sword. So I think it's going to be very interesting. I mean, I don't know. I think it's probably going to be some sort of shakeout, crash, because that's what happens with technology.
Yeah,
you've got to flush out all the stuff that's not real.
Yeah. Quite an interesting week in the news.
I know. Yes, it's scary stuff, isn't it? Yes. So,
yeah. Luckily, we're not totally invested in. Well, you know, not totally. I mean,
no,
we'll have to just see, won't we?
We'd be all right. I mean, you know, it's fine. We just, we're little. We're just the little guys.
Yeah.
Making a living on our stalls. Watch the what are they called? The Masters of the World, Masters of the Universe.
Masters of the Universe, yeah.
Yeah, there they go. They're all doing their thing. We'll be just picking up the pieces after all of this. Yes, we're not meaning to be depressing, are we? But it is a pretty seismic week, generally.
It is. You're right. So let's look forward to next week and the Data Jam. We'll get together and talk about data and AI and things like that. But this week, Ben, let's wrap things up. Anything planned?
No, I'm not doing too much this weekend, because obviously we've got a busy week next week. So I'm maybe a bit of log chopping, and it's bloody cold, isn't it?
It is. You're right. Yeah, absolutely right.
Absolutely freezing. So yes, I will be. I've got to chop a lot of logs because the fire's being used a lot, and that's my main bit of exercise, I think, over the weekend. And then I think I'll just be
looking at a fire.
Looking at fire, watching a bit of telly, is a bit of sports, yeah. Cricket.
Good. Yeah. Did you see the Scotland game on on Tuesday night.
Yes, so I thought you might want to comment on that. That was very good, wasn't it? For them,
It was very good. It was an excellent. Like I watched the last half an hour, and it was genuinely pretty exciting and crazy game of football.
Yeah,
Great goals, and glad they went through.
Yeah, I am. I mean, I think that that 28 years, I hadn't really realised it was that long. And if you're Scottish and Scotland, football's a huge game in Scotland, isn't it? And we moan on about England, not winning the World Cup. I mean, they've not even been in the World Cup.
Yeah, you're right. So yeah, it's a good, it's a great game. So yeah, be looking forward to that.
Yes, there was. So that'll be good. Yeah.
Right, I'm going to sign off because I've got a frog in my throat. I'm going to a sixth form reunion and seeing my mum and dad on Saturday. So, and then I'll be back down here and working on Sunday. So, all ready for Tuesday. So that's
well, that's what we have to do.
Yeah, that's what we have to do. Back to the grind.
Keep the wheels of the market on.
Definitely. Right. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. We will see you next week and have a good weekend.
Have a good one. Bye.
Burgess and Bolton's weekly wrap-up.